Hi, and welcome to another video where I'm going to try and build something using bricksbuilder. Today I thought I'd try and build this garden design card. Let's get started. First of all, let's add a section. I'm using acss, so my sections come with automatic padding and margins. Padding, I think, mainly. What are we going to need? Well, first of all, we're going to need a block for the card. So let's put a block in, I believe. Of course, that never goes in where you want it. I'm going to build one of these because the rest will then just be duplicated once I've built one card. So let's see. First of all, then we're going to need a block for the image or media, and then another block for the actual content of the card. So let's add two blocks. That does go inside this time. Inside there, the first block, we are going to need the image, and in the second block we are going to need, well, we're going to need a block for the div. Let's put a div in there because that doesn't necessarily need to be a block. So let's put a div in, and inside that we are going to need an SVG. So let's do that. Move that in there, and then inside this block we are also going to need another block where we will need heading and some basic text. Right, so let's figure this out. Let's call this garden service card. This will be the media wrapper. This will be the media. This is going to be the content wrapper. This will be the icon wrapper. This will be the icon. This will be the heading, and this will be the lead. Now I'm going to use acss BEM on this one. It just saves me typing in all the classes, and you don't really need to see me type in all the classes. So let's just click on this and let's see if we're happy. We're going to have go inside card media wrapper, media content. I think that looks okay. Yep, let's apply the classes. Let's just get an image in here for now, just so that I like to work with an image. So let's click on content and let's go to select image. Now I've got a plugin called Instant Images, which I use for doing these videos. Just download it from the Wordpress repository. So once installed, you can use Unsplash open, as you can see, all of these. I typically use Unsplash, and I'm going to type in gardening, and here we have quite a few images, so let's pick that one. Instant images, gardening. Let's pick that one. I held command there, hoping that would let me choose more than one, but it didn't. Gardening, let's see. That one might do. How many do I need? 4. So let's just pick one more. Yes. Choose a tool. Did I pick that one already? No, so we've got 4 images there. So let's just put that one in. Let's just plunk that one in for now. Right, so we have an image. Right, acss is set up at the moment and it always puts a border on this, and on this one I can see that we don't need any borders. So let's just take that off for this one because I may need it somewhere else. So let's go to border radius of 0 and link that through. And of course that's not working. Border radius of 0. Let's just refresh. Yep, refresh was required there. Right. So let's have a look what else we have. We have the icon, inner circle, the step, and garden design. So let's open these up again. Let's go to the content wrapper. Let's type in step 1 here. And this was garden design. That is it. Right. So let's go to content wrapper. Make sure we select and make sure that's all centered. Centered across there. And then let's make sure that the text is centered. So let's go on to heading. Make sure and go to typography, text align center. And same with here. Make sure we select the class centered. That just means that just to make sure that when we go down to mobile and everything it's working fine. Right, it's a little bit big at the moment, so let's just quickly, is it 4? Let's just display this as grid, and we will put this as 1FR. No, let's just do repeat 4 min max 1FR. I think I always forget this. Oh. I really wish I could type. Repeat 4 min max 0, 1FR. I can never remember this, so the quick way I'm going to do it is for now. I will sort that out in a bit. Let's quickly put the background on here. I have a program called SIP on my Mac, which just allows me to choose a color. I'm not really going to bother with this style on the background of this or a class. Just going to paste the code in there. I just want it to look the same for now. I mean, I could put let's just put a class on. There. So now it is on a class. I was going to do it without, but I just couldn't. Right. Now on step 1, we want to make that above the garden design and also in capitals. So let's go to layout, order -1. I thought we had the icon. These need to be in their own wrap in a block, don't they? So let's put that in there. So that still works. This block needs to have the same class on it, so we will type that in. Garden cuts, third, and we'll call this heading wrapper. Not brilliant, but at least we know what it is. That needs to go through the same thing of being centered, and then the gap is way too big on that, so let's narrow that down to the row gap of 0.25 m, maybe 0.1 m. Let's make the typography all caps, so text transform uppercase. Slight bit of letter spacing, let's say 1 pixel. Did that work? Yes, it was working, so 2, 1. You know what, maybe there isn't any. No, let's not put any in. I'm not bothered by the fonts in this. Really doesn't matter, the fonts don't matter at all. Let's use my SIP program again. You might not be able to see this, but I'm actually choosing the green colour. And I'm going to make the colour that green. I mean, normally using acss, my colours would be set up and I would be just pulling those from the primary or whatever I'd set up. But I'm trying to do this without using acss. I mean, really, I should use this as a variable anyway. I should set that up as a variable. That green doesn't look quite right. I'm going to try that again. No, that's the green it's telling me it's got to be. Right, let's get an SVG in here. Let's go to content. No file selected. I do have some SVGs that I downloaded earlier. Sorry if there's a weird thing there. Right, let's just put this leaf in for now. That CSVG. Can we have a stroke color? Will that affect it, or is it the fill? Let's just put a hex in there. Yep, that's great. That's worked. Right. Does it work on a class? Stroke color. Yes, that worked. That's good. Right. Let's go for a size. Layout width of 2M. 3. 2.5. Let's keep that like that for now. Let's click on the icon wrapper. Click on that. It needs a background of this hex code. This is getting a little messy with the colours. So I've got the choice of saving a variable. So let's do that. You know what? Classes and variables. Let's go to a variable. And let's go primary. And put the colour, no, that might clash with acss, so let's put primary col. That's not the col, that's primary col light, and this will be primary col, and let me just go and find, that's it, sorry. Save that. Hopefully that's the working of the colours. Let's go and check that out. So let's close this down. Click on here. Icon. Content. Stroke colour. VAR. Primary col. And that did not work. Do we just put that? No, that's primary col. Let's just refresh the page. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. No, so obviously I did something wrong. Variables, primary col equals. Why is that not working? Let's see if it works on the of course it won't work there. I need to take that out. Raw. Oh, actually comes up here. So one col. That's fine. So let's go back to this. Service card. Content. stroke color, I want raw, click the variable. Don't use this obviously, so now we need that. That worked fine. Oh dear, that was such a painful thing, but I've learned something myself there. As I say, I don't normally use that. I normally use acss, but that I can see how that would work nicely. Right, so what we actually need to do is on the icon wrapper, we need to have a background of raw and light, which we can't see at the moment, but it does need to have a border. Let's say 4 pixels. Solid, and color is going to be a white, and the border radius is going to be 50 view width. Link all of those, so that's now a circle. So that's in there. We will need padding. So let's select the wrapper. Layout, let's do a padding of 1M all the way around. Let's see what that looks like. Way too big. The icon doesn't look centered. Which it should be, shouldn't it? Display flex. That seems to have solved that. It was display block. So that's good. Let's look at this actually. That needs to be a background of a content wrapper. Needs to have a background of white, so let's make sure that's there. A background color white. The whole card actually needs to have a row gap of 0. The content wrapper needs some padding on that. So let's say it's a padding of left and right can be 1M, 1M. Let's do 1M on the bottom. Right, now the icon wrapper, can we just move that as a margin up? So let's say minus 50%. Oh. Well, we really need to work that out mathematically, but we then need to know what the size of the icon is, plus the padding, plus the pixels. That's that works fine for now. There's too much gap in that, so let's go to content wrapper. A row gap, let's put 0 in, and then let's change that to 1M. It's too much, so 0.5. that seems okay. The heading looks a little large, so let's go to the heading and typography, font size, two 2.5, 2.3, 2.3 rem. The picture is really quite large, so let's look at the media wrapper. Let's make that an aspect ratio. So let's go to the layout. Where is the aspect ratio? There. Let's go 3/4. That's still too much, so let's go 2/3. 2 would be square. Is it square? I think it's actually square, which means that would be an aspect ratio of 1. Let's go back to the media, and on content let's just make sure fill is cover, and 50/50 is fine at the moment. That's actually not looking bad. Not looking bad at all. Let's duplicate this card. Let's just type in here soil filtering. Ready to plant. Using soil medic. Let's just change that picture. Right, let's see why this is not right. Obviously, I didn't have this. Oh, I did. Let me see. That is going to be 100%, width of 100%. That should now, that's fine, that's working on that. I think the border on this needs to be a little more, so let's go to the border, and that says 4 pixels. Let's make that 8. Let's double the, that's too much obviously, so let's go to 6 and link those through. 6 doesn't look too bad. I think that is virtually there, apart from there's drop shadows on those. So let's do first of all the drop shadow on this one. So that would be a box shadow. 0, 0, 20. Let's do a colour of black. so we can see it. I think we need the spread more, needs to be a lot blurrier than that one, so let's do 30. That looks about right. And then the colour needs to be a lot lighter. That doesn't look too bad at all. And then there's also a drop shadow on the actual main card. So if we click on the card, make sure that's there. Let's click on box shadow, and again let's go 0, 0, was it 30? And a black of trans 20, trans 10. Let's check that on the front end. I think that looks pretty good. Obviously we'd need to play around with the content width and put some links in. Let's try putting some links in. So this would link to a post or the service. So let's go to content, link type. It would be dynamic data, and it would be post title. But in this instance, I'm not doing that because I'm just going to put a blank link in. So I'm going to go to custom URL. A hashtag, and then that would link to the post. Obviously there's nothing to link to at the moment. Normally these would be looped through, I would imagine. In fact, while we're here, let's just change these icons. Let's just make sure that the icons do change and keep the colours. Well, it's telling me it's a watering can. It doesn't look like one there. So let's refresh the page again. Brick sometimes does this. Ah, now that's weird. That's the fill. I'm assuming there's a fill on that SVG. That's an issue with the SVG, not... And so it's a stroke width. I'm assuming that's going to be the stroke fill. So let's go raw and primary. Yep, but we don't need that on all of them. So let's not do that. In this instance, I would just make sure that the SVG was formatted correctly. But in what I can do here is click on that. So we do changing the ID. So it should just be this fill. So let's change that fill, raw, click the variable of primary color, and that worked. Or make sure that I've got a similar kind of SVG with a non-filled in line there, if that makes sense. I hope this was interesting. I hope you learned something from this. Please let me know if there's something I'm doing that's really wrong. And if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and ask me to build something else maybe. Thanks. Goodbye.